and what have you, and the things that should have been in corporate names. I wasn't prepared for the last downturn in the economy. 2008, I took a massive 7-figure hit. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, absolutely fell off a cliff to close to
that's a big hit.
yeah. I mean, it was like, oh, look, there it goes, up in flames. But the reality is, it taught me, it's like, I call it paid tuition, right? Mm-hmm. But don't you pay the tuition that I paid. If I could tell you, they say, some people learn from a wise person. They say learns from, their own mistakes. But a really, really wise person learns from the mistakes of others. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's just things. Yeah. There's things that I could tell you not to do in ways to set things up. That something like this. I mean, again, like I said, 120 days ago, we were not thinking about this moment that we find ourselves in right now.
Without a doubt.
It didn't even feel like a possibility. So, you right now, and one thing I want to mention, I see a lot of people making some really, I'm going to call them unwise moves. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to send you an article. It's a piece that I wrote, probably one of the biggest pieces on my blog in the last 10 years, the most read piece. It's called How to Move Furniture Like Koreans, right? Okay. Have you ever seen that piece? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I never saw that one.
Okay, I send you this piece, but
I definitely got to get that one.
But I want to share some game with you real quick.
Okay.
So back in the day, I used to live on Rolling Road in Dogwood in this place called Rolling Wind, right? Mm-hmm. It was like they had just built it. It was really nice, new, and the whole nine. And I used to go across the street and take my clothes to this Korean dry cleaner, right? And so dude was like, we developed a decent relationship. And, Julian and Teresa, they take their stuff over there. That's my brother and his wife. And my parents, sometimes they would drop their stuff off over there or whatever. So he sees me one day. He says, Mark, look, do me a favor. He says, can you come back to the shop around 7:00? And I need to talk to you about something. I said, oh, okay, no problem. I'll come through and see you. I come back at 7. He's closed the shop. We're standing in the front of the shop. And I was like, what'd you need? He was like, hey, do me a favor. He was like, can you pick that couch up and move it to the back of the shop?
Really?
I was like, what? I said, I'm sorry. You want me to pick this couch up and move it to the back of the shop? I was like, did you call me here to move your couch? And he could see I was getting like really agitated, right? He was like, no. He said, well, I could call the guys that are in the back working, because he had all these other guys from his country in the back working. I could call them and they can help us, and I can help, and we can move the couch to the back or whatever. And I said, but you got all these guys here, and what did you call me for? He's like, well, that's what I want. He said, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. He was like, one person trying to move a couch, very, very hard. A lot of people moving the couch, very easy.
Right.
And he said, people think that they think that when I came to this country, I came here with some kind of money or this, that, and the third. He said, me, my 2 brothers, my mother and my father came here. We were broke. He said, we all lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. Me and my 2 brothers, he said, we were grown men. He said, we came at like 24, 25, 26. He said, that's how old he and his brothers were. Mm-hmm. And he said, and then his older parents. He said, we all had these menial jobs where we made $200 a week each. He said, we would go to our jobs, and me and my brothers, we would all give our $200 each, $600 a week to my mother. And my mother and father would have their money, and they would use their money to pay the bills, and they would save our $600 a week, right? He said, so after the first year, we had $30,000 saved up. After the second year, he said, we had $60,000 saved up, and we got the first business for the oldest brother. He was like, then we were still in this apartment doing the same thing for 2 more years. saved up 60, got the second business for the second brother. He said, we did the same thing for 2 more years. He said, now I'm telling you, we were not 15, 16, that we were grown men, you know, in this, you know, in this little room together and blah, blah, blah. And after the third year, then the youngest brother, you know, got his business or whatever, right? He said after that 6 years and setting those 3 businesses up, we built off of those businesses. He said, my parents never worked another day, right? He was like,
wow.
He was like, that's how we got ourselves out of poverty. He said, I called you, he said, because I met your, he said, I see you, I see how you move. He's like, I met your brother and his wife, and he's like, I met mommy and daddy, and they're very nice. You know, he knew my parents or whatever. He was like, I see what you're doing. He's like, I just want you to hold that in your head. He said, in America, he said, a lot of families can't be successful. Mm-hmm. He said, because too early on, everybody has their own stuff. So you're paying 3 mortgages or 3 rents and a whole bunch of car payments and a whole bunch of bills, and all that wealth is being sucked out of your family and into the society before you establish anything that's income producing, right? They stayed together until they had put 3 income producing assets in place. And they sacrificed, you know, being young men out dating and doing their thing and blah, blah, blah. And they sacrificed, you know, going off on their own and all that stuff. But it was only 6 years. It was only 6 years. It wasn't a lifetime. And he sent me around to go, his other brothers own dry cleaners in other areas. He sent me around to meet his brothers. Okay. And I met and this is like 94, 95, something like that, you know, 1994, 1995 or whatever. And it was very inspiring what he said. It was one of those things, though, that I wish I had learned at 10, 11, 12 years old in terms of mentality, right? Because I would have, you know, done a few things differently, right? And we would have done things differently as a family and stuff like that in terms of how to really build wealth. We'd have put some other things in place first. You know, right. let's put a business in place before everybody has a home and this, that, and the third, because all that is a bill. Right. So that piece kind of details that or whatever, but it's a piece of my blog and it's called How to Move Furniture Like Koreans and whatnot. And it's like had been very widely read both around the country and around the world and what have you, because I think it's probably, to me, it was the most instructive story. And I'm watching that as this pandemic happens, as kids are graduating from college and different things like that, and they're in a rush to get the apartments and different things like that, and a rush to move out on their own and create their own bills and to get their cars and all these things. And now ain't the time.
You're right.
Now is not the time.